Joining us on Sports Online, presented by Progressive Insurance on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, as well as ESPNU and ESPN News. Chris, I'll throw that at you. The Eagles are the champs from last year. Many people believe they can be the champs again this year, but we know how much of a fickle Mr. and Mistress the NFL can be. If I ask Chris Canty on his table of numbers, which teams realistically have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year, how many teams and who are those teams on your table?
Well, Freddie C., I had a coach when I played with the Ravens that said that only a quarter of the league has a real chance at being able to win a championship in any given year, right?
Right.
So we got 32 teams. Break that down. It's 8 teams that have a real shot at being able to win this thing.
Right.
There are a lot of teams that believe they're contenders, but they're not. They're pretenders.
Right.
There's only about 6 to 8 teams in any given year that have a legitimate chance at being able to win a title. And so I put together a list of teams in no certain order. These are the teams that I think have a legitimate chance at holding up the Vince Lombardi trophy at season's end. So here they go. The Buffalo Bills.
Right.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Right.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
The Washington Commanders,
Right.
the Detroit Lions,
Okay.
the Green Bay Packers, and the LA Rams.
Okay.
So I've got 5 NFC teams and 3 AFC teams. That's how it all breaks down.
Okay. I'll say there's 5. And you mentioned 5 of the early ones. Buffalo, definitely. Baltimore, definitely. Kansas City, definitely. That's 3 from the AFC in my opinion. The 2 from the NFC, Eagles and the Rams. I think Devontae Adams is going to be really, really special for that Rams offense.
I agree.
And
I agree.
Yeah, that defensive front line, they got a bunch of filthy McNasties in that front 7. That's going to cause a lot of problems for anybody trying to play the Rams. I guess I'm not sold on Washington yet, and here's why. I still think they need to find a running game to go with Jayden Daniels consistently. This way, everything is not on him, even though he has more of that capability. And the defense should be a little bit better. But here's the one concern I have about the Washington Commanders. For the first time, probably since Joe Gibbs coached this team, we go into the season where they are going to get everybody's best shot because they circled that team on their schedule. Not saying that they can't handle it, but I've always been a big believer. I've always been a part of that tree. It's one thing to be the hunted, but when you're the hunter and nobody sees you, you can sneak up on people. When you're the hunter, you get everybody's best game and everybody's best shot. How do you handle that? I've seen how the Eagles handle that. I've seen how the Chiefs have handled that. Ravens and the Bills, and to a point the Rams, because they won the Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford. But for the first time since, in my opinion, since Joe Gibbs was the head coach, we go into a season where you can put the Commanders as part of the hunted and not the hunter, or even not even being in the forest. I can't wait to see exactly how they handle that. That's why I put them outside of my top 5, even though you have them in your top 8.
Well, Freddie, see, in the last segment when I did my power rankings and talked about the Gen Next quarterbacks, you acknowledge Jayden Daniels' traits, his intangibles, not just what he does on the football field, but his leadership. How can you praise the best player's leadership and then fade the Washington Commanders because you don't know how you think they're going to handle success?
Because you're not.
How does that work?
You're not going to do a loaded question on me because you play in the NFL. You know how these things work. I know what you're trying to do here, Chris Canty. I know what you're trying to do.
You just praise the man's leadership, and then you say, but I don't know how they're going to handle success.
See, this is what happens when you have that UVA education like he does, and I'm just a poor little Mansfield graduate from 1987 from the northern tier of Pennsylvania. My education wasn't as good as his, but I know a loaded question when I have one. You know that you can have a great quarterback, but if the defense is not playing well, how much can he be able to overcome that? Or if the running game is not there, how much more pressure can he put on himself and deal with that kind of pressure, especially when he's the hunted this year, more so than the hunter last year? And I'm a Jayden Daniels fan, believe me. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, it makes me sick to know for the next 12 to 15 years, he's going to torture my team and kill them each and every year, probably 2 times a year, or at least 1 out of the 2. I know what that expectation is going to be, but I also know that pressure is different when everybody has their eyeballs on you, when everybody has you in their crosshairs. As talent of a leader and a quarterback, I think is going to be an elite quarterback with all said and done. Other people, can they raise their level to an elite level, being part of the hunted and not the hunter? To me, that's the biggest question. Not more so with Jayden Daniels, CC, but with everybody else trying to deal with that being hunted label that's going to be attached to Washington Commanders and not just on the quarterback.
Yeah, and we felt like we got a little bit of that last year with the Detroit Lions. Now, injuries is what was their undoing, but you're taking the Detroit Lions off of the title contenders list as well. Tell me why.
when you lose two coordinators that are really good for you, Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, both of those guys are head coaches, immediately there's going to be a curve that the quarterback, Jared Goff, has to overcome and that the defense have to overcome. And to be fair, the Lions defense was pretty good last year until everybody got injured. I mean, they were pumping out of the stands.
They were really good until everybody got injured.
Absolutely. Start that guy. They were pulling people out of the stands that played in the Empire Football League to play defense, and they just got one at the end of the year. So now you're going to a year where both of those guys are no longer part. The new voices are going to take a while for guys to really have that implemented to them, and vice versa. And also you're playing what I believe could be the best division of football in the NFC North, where you got 3 teams made the playoffs last year, and a Bears team that I know is going to be better. It would not surprise me, CC, if all 4 teams in that division play above 500 football. Maybe the team in last place may wind up winning 9 games in a 17-game schedule. How are you going to deal with that when the Vikings team, even with a new quarterback, Kevin O'Connell can coach? Green Bay, I'm not expecting Jordan Love to look like that last year, especially now he's a married man. You know he's going to be feeling good going into this season. And you got a Lions team that has to overcome 2 defensive coordinators, losing 2 coordinators on defense and offense, trying to make that work, even though Jared Goff is still a really good quarterback in this league.
Okay, all right. So you answered my question. You took the Packers off there too. We don't have time to get into that, but I'm with you, Freddie C. I think there are 3 legitimate title contenders in the AFC.
Yep.
I'm a little more generous than you.
Yes,
I think the NFC has 5.
Okay.
The Eagles, Commanders, Lions, Packers, Rams. You agree on 2 of the 5, that being the Eagles and the Rams.
Yeah, by the way, we're 60 days away from the NFL. You can start the countdown right now, and nobody will be mad at you. And what does an FOS friend of this show think about Chris Canty saying that 8 teams legitimately have a chance to not only get to the Super Bowl, but win a Super Bowl? He stops by to join us next on the Sports Alert with Chris Canty and Freddie Coleman on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, SiriusXM Channel 80, and ESPN U.
Nghĩ tầm bậy tầm bạ. Vâng, đấy, bây giờ mình sẽ tiếp tục. Không, sạc điện thoại. 10. Trời ơi. Nhiều gì. năm rồi có 5.000 nữa. Thế nữa là hai sự kiện lớn.
Không bán cái tiền nghe đi.